Welcome to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. This is where you're going to discover how to bring awakening into the body and into everyday life through powerful tantric teachings. Get ready to release, open, and step into your true power.
Really, I'm 46 now. When I started this journey, I was 21, and I spent a lot of time. I knew at 21 that I wanted to support people in whatever way that I could. And I spent a good 20 years looking for what that modality was. I spent 10 years in between Australia and India, living in ashrams for quite extended periods of time, studying Hinduism, Tibetan Buddhism, and it really took me into my 30s when I finally met Chantel and met the body of work of Tantra that I hadn't even touched before, because I'm like, isn't that just all about sex, right? That my consciousness really got blown away by the depth of the wisdom that the tradition of Tantra holds for deep healing and expansion into living a pretty phenomenal life. And it was through seeing the impact in my own life, in my relationship, that made me go, first of all, this is it. Second of all, why isn't this taught as part of our education system? And I think that's what I love about Tantra. One of the things I love the most is that it's so, it's just so natural for me. It's so intuitive. So we're going to be speaking today into the tradition of Tantra and what that is. I'm going to be talking into the two key areas of life that a lot of people struggle with and yet can bring the most joy and expansion, which is sexuality and relationships and the emotional body. And yeah, then we're going to be sharing with you just some really practical wisdom of how to bring this into your own life and how, when working with clients, that can really support you. So I'm going to hand over to Chantel now. And yeah, thank you for being here again and going on this journey with us.
Welcome, everyone. Let's just take a moment here to close down the eyes and bring our hands to our heart. The path of Tantra is really about shifting our focus from mind to body, to heart, to aliveness. So let's just take 3 really long, deep breaths. And if you're brave, let out some sound on the exhalation. And all we're doing is we're feeling whatever is alive inside of us. We're tapping into our aliveness. So nice, deep inhale, open and expand the body on the inhale. Pause a little at the top, and then on the exhale, release, let go with sound. And again. And I just want to start here while your eyes are closed by giving you a suggestion, a message that Tantra gave me, which is that no matter what you're feeling right now, no matter what's alive in you, you are absolutely 100% lovable and divine. You are beautiful and you are safe to rest in your body and this experience that you're having. And let's just rotate the hips a little. Just move them around in your chair. It's also safe to feel good during this hour together, right? So let's take another deep breath. This time we're going to use our hands and then on the exhalation, we're going to go, make a sound that makes you feel good. Bring some movement in that makes you feel good. Deep breath in. So the philosophy of Tantra is based on this idea, which eventually becomes an experience, that all of this separation that so many traditions go into, all of this separation that a lot of modalities go into, that a lot of humans go into, teachers go into, of this is right, this is wrong, this is how you do it, this is how you don't do it. This is dark, this is light. This is for men, this is for women. This is professional, this is unprofessional. All of those dualities, Tantra actually goes into the full experience of those dualities to eventually dissolve them into oneness. And what does that actually mean? That means that in your own life, and whenever you're with a client, you're not trying to fix anything. There is a profound embodied realization that rests in any Tantra practitioner who is a master, and that begins to blossom in anyone who starts studying Tantra. That, oh my goodness, it's okay to feel horny. It's okay to have fantasies and desires. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel ecstatic. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to feel everything in the human experience. And I don't need to bypass that with the mind. And actually, I could say so many things about the tradition of Tantra, but the nucleus of this tradition and all of the amazing practices that it gives us that are so eclectic, so colorful, so multifaceted. At the core of all tantric practice is, can you just fucking be yourself? Can you be okay with what's here now? So all traditions, any modalities that support us into our essence, that support us into embodying the essence of peace and happiness, which is what always gets us on this path, right? We want to feel more at peace. We want to stop head fucking ourselves. We want to stop all the conflict that's happening in our relationships, become more fulfilled sexually, experience spaces of perhaps awakening and enlightenment, be in our ease, actually enjoy our life. That's what often begins the seeker's journey, your journey and the people who will eventually come to you. But what does that mean when it's not simply another goal that we're going for? You know, we live in this world that is so numb. Like, where is the aliveness? Where is the prioritization towards our pleasure, towards our joy, towards aligning with spirit? Is that a vibrational frequency that is really resonating, that you feel when you step outside, when you're at a party, when you're interacting? And maybe you have that tribe around you, and they're the only environments you put yourself in. And what creates that environment? It's the end of all trying. Tantra is the end of all trying. We're not trying to be anything. We're not trying to do anything. We're not trying to get anywhere. We are here now, riding the waves of aliveness, right? Being in a state of feminine surrender, receptivity, fluidity, and flow, while also having a masculine focus on what we want, our dharma and our purpose, so that there is a union between masculine and feminine energies within us. And yoga, which is a branch of Tantra, actually. So it's funny when people who are yogis poo-poo Tantra, I just have a little giggle. Yoga is a beautiful part of Tantra. And actually so many things. You know, when we go to talk about daily practice later on in the masterclass, you'll see that there's no one daily practice in Tantra. It might be mantra, it might be yantra, it might be feeling, it might be dancing, it might be taking your hands into different mudras, it might be simply sitting in stillness. There's so many options, and that's what's beautiful. And sometimes oftentimes sexuality, because it's so marketable, becomes the focus of Tantra. Sexuality is a tiny part, but an absolutely beautiful part. And the other differentiating factor of this tradition is that we actually acknowledge that sexuality and unfulfillment sexually is a huge cause of conflict in relationships and people's lives. And the fact that that's not looked at in so many traditions, the fact that trauma and stuck energy in the body is sometimes only approached from the lens of the mind and the past and mental conversation is really sad, because trauma is not mental. Trauma lives in the body. And part of my passion around supporting people to discharge trauma out of their body, to discharge emotional tension out of the body, is to get away from a therapeutic model, which is analytical and which often can keep us in the past. It has its place, but it's not it. You know, I was 30 when I found Tantra, and I had no memories of 3 years of sexual abuse until I finally had facilitators who were working with my body. And I've met, you wouldn't even believe how many clients have had sessions with me, and afterwards they say, I got more out of that session than 7 years in therapy or 5 years or 10 years. I promise you that feedback is very common feedback. And part of the philosophy of Tantra is this saying that you may have heard, no mud, no lotus. Now, if you see the beauty of a lotus flower, right? What's underneath that lotus, the mud, which is the unseen realms, which is our primal instincts, which is our emotional body, our sexuality. What happens when we're actually allowing that energy to move? Each of you were born from sex. Each of you has the divine miracle of birth as your being coming from the union of your parents. So sexuality is why you're alive, and sexuality is life force energy. So Tantra says, why not utilize sexuality as a healing modality, right? Now, what differentiates tantric sex from other types of sex where actually we see it as a healing modality? What differentiates it is that it's not the flesh and friction that we see in pornography, that's focus is on a lot of rubbing, that's focus is on peak orgasms. The focus is on looking perfect and beautiful and performance and goal orientation. And really, when we look at pornography and everything that we're getting away from through Tantra, it's kind of the same thing as life. It's like a lot of life is also focused on the goal, focused on performance, getting somewhere, having those peak experiences, and not actually being in the journey of getting there, right? But just driving towards this peak experience. So what Tantra does is it slows everything down, not just in the bedroom, also outside of the bedroom, because the amount of people who come to me and say to me, how can I have an orgasm is it is actually just, I'm just getting a little bit emotional because I find it so sad that orgasmic energy, which is our aliveness, which is our birthright, so many women are not experiencing that because, like in life, sexuality has become this masculine driven, goal oriented, performance based, getting somewhere practice. And I'm not saying masculine in a bad way. I absolutely love men. But when sexuality and life is polarized in masculine energy rather than balanced with feminine, there is no way life is enjoyable or sex is enjoyable for the feminine in all of us. How do we enjoy life? How do we enjoy lovemaking? By actually being in the moment with sensation, by responding to that sensation through connection, through love, through emotional fluidity. So all of the practices in Tantra that you learn for yourself and you learn for your clients, if you dive into this tradition, are giving yourself and your clients an opportunity to have the most beautiful experiences of sexuality where energy and sensuality are prioritized, where actually the felt sense of the power of a man's cock is being experienced. You know, lingam is the tantric term for cock, and it means wand of light. And this is where a man's power is. Actually, a man loves a woman through his cock. And the other education that we have alongside pornography in the collective consciousness, in mainstream education, is religion, which is very shaming. And men get so shamed for their sexuality. But actually, this is where they love. That's why, you know, they want to have sex with so many women. You know, of course, women are beautiful, but it's also this natural primal instinct to seed life, to love through the cock. And yoni means sacred space, sacred entrance. So then we're receiving. And when it's genital focused and flesh and friction focused, we're not even touching on what's possible. And of course, so many women aren't orgasming because if we're not feeling energy and sensuality, our heart, which is where we love from, which is how we open, which is our power place, our positive pole, doesn't open. So all the practices in Tantra are connecting lingam and heart, yoni and lingam, and the fluidity of circling and spiraling. Soft, slow touch, especially to begin with. And look, I'm all for hot, wild, fast, yummy, unpredictable sex. But like every woman, my body needs time to warm up. And most men don't even know what that means, let alone what they would do in that warming up phase. So it brings me so much pleasure to support men to understand a woman's body, to do couple sessions where she's feeling connected and alive and just, you know, moving her hips, awakening Kundalini energy, connecting through her heart, feeling touch as something so sacred. How many traditions, how many modalities say yes to the touch that we all need, say yes to connecting as humans, say yes to the mess as well as the beauty. How many traditions bring people together, bring people's bodies together in song? How many traditions say, let's make some fucking noise. Let's get alive here. So when you're working with Tantra, all of a sudden what you start to see as you work with people is they're coming alive. The numbness is going. Sex isn't just something that, okay, we start here and we end with ejaculation or a peak clitoral orgasm. And everything that's happening in between is just bringing us to here. No, what's happening here in between is the richness of the journey where we're feeling everything fully. Maybe there's tears as well as ecstatic orgasmic energy. Maybe we need to pause sometimes. Maybe we're looking into the eyes of the beloved and we're seeing God. And samadhi and sexuality are not separate in Tantra. Nothing's separate in Tantra. And, there's so many practices in our practitioner training so that these experiences of pleasure and aliveness are not just experienced in the bedroom, but become the new norm out of the bedroom, so that the gap between beginning sex and ending sex, and the gap between beginning a project and ending a project, or getting from anywhere where you are now to where you want to be, is not what life is, which is this stressful drive towards the peak experience. And then we finally go, and relax until we drive towards the next experience. And we take that into the bedroom. No, we're riding the waves. We're seeing the vision and we're trusting the full feeling and aliveness as what's happening in those waves, that we're going to get to where we need to get to, even if we have an idea of what that is. So for people to have amazing orgasmic sex, what they need to understand is that intense orgasm, which is implosive or explosive, can be experienced the whole time you're making love as energy flowing through the body, when it's breathed through and moved through. And there are so many beautiful practices in our training to support this, separate ones for men and women, and then working with couples together. So I could talk about sexuality, obviously, all day, but I'll hand it over to Tara to feed us into the next topic. Thank you for your deep listening and for being here. It always makes my heart happy to know that I can touch individuals' lives and maybe spark a realization somewhere that is bringing more truth and pleasure and joy and alignment into the heart, into this space. So thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. For more great free resources, in-person and online workshops, and our retreats, find us on Instagram and Facebook at Embodied Awakening Academy. Visit